Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to be talking about the SPICED framework that was created by Winning by Design. As you may have seen from a previous video, SPICED is a data collection framework that is used to create consistency and cohesiveness between internal departments and internal stakeholders throughout a customer and or prospecting buying journey. And so today we're going to dig a little bit deeper beyond just what it is into diving into some of the specific details of the acronym itself. So for a quick summary, SPICE is an acronym that stands for situation is the S, pain is the P, I stands for impact, CE stands for critical event, and D stands for decision, both decision criteria, how do I select a vendor or solution, and decision process, which is who's involved and what does the sequence of events of an evaluation look like for your organization. So we're going to dive into each of these one by one. And the purpose today is to give you some greater context of as you adopt and use this methodology to collect information across your customer buying journey, what information is appropriate and how do I make sure that I'm filling in these categories in the most productive and effective way. So let's start at the top with S stands for situation. So what is a situation for a company? The situation is really a concise understanding of what's happening for this company and or the persona that you're speaking to. So if I'm talking to a VP of marketing, what's going on in their world that we should be aware of? Are they launching new initiatives? Are they new to the company and therefore they join the company with a thesis of how to really accelerate growth, et cetera? And then also what's going on for the organization. Is the company growing? Is it shrinking? Have they just merged? Are they launching new products? Are they expanding into new regions? What's going on? I think that the goal here is really to understand in large part, what is the kind of macro environment that this organization is going through, and in more tangible and tactical ways, what is this person going through that you're speaking to? So it gives you a better sense of kind of their world that then everything else can be anchored to. So if a company's in fast growth mode, a lot of the other information you gather can anchor back to, oh, they're moving fast, things are going quickly, they have a sense of pressure from time. All those things start to make sense when you understand the context of what's going on. So that's situation. The pain, pretty self-explanatory, but the pain is really the problem that this individual, the persona you're speaking to, is trying to solve, and also the company is trying to solve. In some cases, those are one and the same. In other cases, they're similar, but maybe slightly different. This persona may want to make themselves look good, and maybe they've made some kind of mistakes in other platforms in the past, or they are attacking a problem that's way too big that they can do on their own, and they need to get some support to get that happen. So that's their specific problem. The problem for the organization may be they need to accelerate growth, or they need to reduce cost, or whatever it may be. So sometimes they're similar, sometimes they're complementary, sometimes in fact they're different, but it's really important that you understand both. And so generally speaking, it's a best practice to start with the person you're speaking to. What's your problem? Why are we talking today? And then expand more broadly into what's the challenge that the organization is trying to deal with. In many cases, this is an opportunity, possibly for the first time, for this individual to really wrestle with a deep understanding of the problem. They may say, well, I need to do a thing, but they may not have taken the time to really understand how impactful that problem has become for either them, their department, or their organization. And so this is an opportunity really to let them kind of talk through it, really explore it with you, and for you to gather a lot of detailed information to fully understand the problem. In some cases, this is an opportunity for you to really professionally bow out, say, hey, I understand the problem. Thank you so much for sharing. That's not something we can fix. In other cases, it's the exact opposite. This is our sweet spot. I want to make sure that I fully understand your problem because I know that we can solve that. So that's the P for pain. The I stands for kind of the other side of that coin, which is what is the outcome that they're looking to achieve, or impact, right? And so for some organizations, I think this is often oversimplified into, well, I want to grow, or I want to increase margins, or I want to reduce costs. That's helpful directionally, but that's not sufficient for what we're trying to accomplish here. So an effective impact understanding is maybe the objective KPI measurement or goal, but then the quantification of that. So I want to increase growth. Great. By how much? 1% or 50%? I want to reduce costs. Great. By $1 or $1 billion. Really starting to understand both the impact, both in a quantification measurement and also a time-based measurement. So really starting to tie into, okay, you want to achieve $1 million in growth. Great. Is that tomorrow? Is that next year? So really starting to understand what does success look like for them? What is the outcome they're looking to achieve? And how much is that outcome being defined as? And when would that need to take place? That really closely dovetails into critical event. And so critical event is, when does this have to take place? Now, for many organizations, you won't have a critical event. The nature of your product and the nature of the space is such that there isn't specifically a time and date when it has to be in place, and has to in critical event terms means there's a consequence for not getting it done. For example, if I have a contract expiration with my current provider and it expires on September 1st, September 2nd, that thing's turned off, and that could create problems. So that's a critical event. That's a real one. Your event might be a compelling event, meaning it's important, but if it pushes a day, a week, a month, a quarter, it isn't the end of the world. And so that's important for you to know, because if you don't have a critical event, it creates more risk in this transaction. So you want to be aware of that. In other cases, when there is a critical event, contract expiration is a great one, board expectations, fiscal year ends, fiscal quarter ends. Those are generally kind of triggers for people that they actually have to get something done, which is a great sign for you, so you know the time frame that you're working within. And then lastly, decision. So decision, as we mentioned in the beginning, is actually two parts. The first part is decision criteria. This is, what is the rubric or the framework or the structure that you're going to be using to select vendor A versus vendor B versus vendor C? So are there specific criteria you're using? Is there a stacked rank kind of order of evaluation? Is there an RFP? Is there something that you're using that you're going to use to thoroughly evaluate the different options that are presented to you? In some cases, organizations are not going to be willing to share this with you, but the more that you can know about it, the more helpful it is, because now you know basically the measurement stick that's going to be used against you. And then secondarily, the decision process. This is about who's involved in decision. What does that sequence of events look like as someone like you is presenting a solution to their business? So, for example, is procurement a part of our process? Do we need to go to the CFO or the CEO for approval? How long does that typically take? Do we need to negotiate before we get to legal, or is legal part of the negotiation process? Really understanding, step 1, step 2, step 3 of that process. In some cases, you might need to walk this person through a process you've seen in the past, because this may be the first time they've bought something. And in other cases, this might be their 47th transaction, and they can very explicitly walk you through the step-by-step process that happens. Again, for you, the benefit of this is, of course, understanding where am I in your buying process and buying journey, and therefore what are the steps to come, and how do I properly prepare myself for those. So hopefully this was a helpful understanding of kind of the scope of the SPICED framework. It's a really powerful and really productive framework. And so as you start using this, I would encourage you to keep challenging yourself to ensure that you are really gathering all of the critical information at each of these stages. And in doing so, I'm confident that it will equip you for a deeper, more thorough, and more effective understanding of this prospect or customer, and therefore lead you to be able to engage in a more professional and productive way, which from what I've seen from my experience with people adopting this, has led to a lot greater success. So thanks for joining in. I hope this was helpful, and good luck applying this in your day-to-day.